and no decision has been made as a result of it. We are behind schedule a little bit here. Welcome to our world. So I'm going to ask folks to be concise with the conversation and the request. And Tony, do I understand that you have a hard deadline, or are you okay to let us go through a couple things here?
Yeah, I can, as long as we can get this by the end of the day, I'm good. So okay, I can hang around.
So Betsy Godlewski here on behalf of the MAC. You're on.
Good morning, Al and commissioners, Josh and Mary. Thanks so much for giving us a little bit of time. My executive director, Wes, is here with me, and he's going to walk you through a really brief presentation that illustrates our request.
Hi, everyone. This is Wes. Great to see you. Thanks for taking just a few minutes of time to listen to kind of get an update on the MAC. Really appreciate that. We're just going to be going through a few slides here, and then I'll be taking questions after. So if you want to go ahead and move the slide along. Okay. All right. So really what I wanted to do is just give you a sense of COVID impact on the MAC. It's been, as you know, hugely impactful for us. It's been pretty devastating for our finances. We wanted to share with you the lost revenue that we experienced between March and September, and this was just for a few months. But you can see that we're down about $764,000, which it really is comprised mostly of admissions and fundraising events. We missed all of our opportunities to raise funds through our big galas and other events, as well as the ways that we earn revenue through our store and our cafe, our educational programs. You can move the slide ahead. So this just gives you a sense of our revenue pie, and the 764 in red shows you, the impact. This also meant that we had to let about 19% of our staff go. We did layoffs last June. We had by about 25%. And then looking forward into this last quarter of calendar 2020, we expect that this red piece of the pie is going to grow substantially, probably by several $100,000 more dollars, which will lead to further staffing and programming cuts. You can change the slides. So this gives you just a little summary of where we are in terms of seeking COVID-related relief funds. Just very briefly, you can see in the left box, the orange box, that there's about $555,000 that we just were not qualified for. The main one being Payroll Protection Act, because we're part state agency, we were not allowed to apply for that. We were one of probably one or two museums in the state of Washington that did not get payroll protection funding. So that was a substantial hit for us. In the middle column, you can see grants that we applied for but weren't funded. This is from state to federal level. National Endowment for the Humanities only funded 12% of their applicants. IMLS only funded 3%. So it's been really hard trying to get additional funds. We did receive, and we're thankful for the grants we received from the county and from Humanities Washington. Go ahead and move the slides. Governor Inslee's COVID regulations have been on our operation. We've been trying to keep up. We were only able to open at the very end of August. We are required to only be at 25% visitor capacity, pre-register time, closing the Campbell House, no tours, no school tours, obviously. And then we've also had to increase our custodial staff and all the PPE, of course. And we're not able to have more than 5 people in a gathering at a time. So this means no events. The traditional avenues we have to raise money are really closed off to us right now. You can go to the next slide. This one just talks a little bit about the MAC impacts in our community. We are the regional museum in a 250-mile, 300 radius. We're the only game in town. There are some small museums in this region, that might get 5,000 or 10,000 visitors a year. We typically attract around 100,000, usually more than 100,000 a year. We bring some economic development opportunities to the community. For every dollar that is spent, we generate typically around $32 based on the Americans for the Arts study. In 2019, our exhibitions brought in people from Montana, from British Columbia, Oregon, all the way into Spokane County just to see some of the exhibitions that we had. So we're confident that we can still provide an economic impact. I think it's also important to mention that there are a few places right now that people can go in. A lot of places are still closed in terms of cultural amenities. There's very few places. So in a way, we're a little bit of COVID relief for families that are stuck indoors, for kids that are stuck on computers. So I think in terms of the COVID era that we're in, the MAC can play a really great role. You can move forward. And then this really just talks a little bit about the areas that we're requesting funding for in terms of PPE and COVID relating safety and cleaning. We really have to protect our visitors and staff. We have to make sure we're taking every precaution possible to ensure their safety. And that's a laundry list of expenses right there that I'm happy to break down if you'd like. In terms of security, we were impacted. We had to actually lay off one of our security staff members earlier in the year with the budget cuts. We have a vulnerable 4.5-acre campus. It sits between the camps that are down by the river and the human service organizations and our neighborhood and downtown. Our collection is on this campus. We do not have 24/7 monitoring. We feel like we should. There are threats daily that include vandalism, fire, museum visitor safety, protection from drug paraphernalia that we find daily on the campus. Moving on to generate revenue events programs, 48,000. We've really had to pivot to online programming, and we're in the process of doing that. We've been able to do some things ourselves, but it's clear that we are not able to provide the kinds of programs like we were without professional editing and without professional equipment. So this breaks down into working with contractors in our county. It's sending money back to them, back to these businesses, because these are skills that we don't have in our staff right now. Marketing has been very tough at the museum. That's one of the first budget items to go in a cut, and so we were definitely impacted by that. And it hasn't been easy getting people back in the museum. We are trying to get the word out. We're letting people know that you can still visit, you can still come. But people have to purchase their tickets online prior to their visit. And there's a lot of different precautions that people have to take right now. And we that's impacting how many people are coming also. So it's been very hard to get the word out. It's costly to do that, to promote the kinds of things that we have right now. And then, let's see here. Finally, the last item, frontline staffing, is just the need for more staff at our front desk. We have currently one person working there. We have sometimes a line of people out the door waiting 6 feet between each other to get in. And we just aren't able to accommodate them because we can't have people lined up inside. So our hope is to staff up that front area in a way that we'll be able to let people in, especially with cold weather coming. It'll make it a lot harder for people to stand outside. So all of these items relate right back to COVID. They relate right back to the original problem here, and these would be impactful. These funds would be hugely impactful for us. They'd allow us to continue to stay open, continue to operate, and not have to cut more staff coming in the next few months. Happy to answer questions. I believe that was the last slide.
So if you have a chance to review this request with Carrie Griddle.
Yes, I have. Betsy and I worked together on this on a number of occasions, and we talked about the needs that the MAC is currently experiencing. as well as staffing, whatever was funded would have to be expended and received by December 30th.
So you're comfortable with the request, Carrie?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
It meets the requirements.
okay. Any questions for Commissioner Cooney or Kearns?
No, I just
No.
thank you guys for doing what you're doing and you know, working hard to stay open. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Mary.
So our Commissioner Kearns, are you prepared to move forward, or do you want to?
Yeah. No, I'm good to move forward. Can I, could you put the slide back up that has the dollar amount again? Thank you. Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to approve and authorize the expenditures of up to $335,000 to cover COVID-related expenses as presented by the MAC.
I second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, Betsy and Wes, for all the work you're doing to keep the facility going. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your help. We appreciate it.
So much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Arian, you're up.
Oh. Was that me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think Gil, are you there as well?
Gil's here.
Yes.
He's
Okay,
here.
good.
Just
You
not-
guys are about this big, so I can't see you very well.
Just see his hand sticking out.
Oh. Well, I think in a lot of ways, this is more informational and there may be additional conversation, but, and Commissioner Cuny and Jerry definitely weigh in. We're at a juncture point with Mission where in order to understand where the facility will go towards bridge housing, we're going to need to take a bigger look at that. And that would require an architect coming alongside us as the county to help us understand what's been done to date and what would need to get us to bridge shelter. And I think unfortunately in hindsight, we didn't really package that site in such a way that the emergency shelter and the bridge shelter activities were co-aligned. So that may put us at a point where the CARES funding isn't an option at this point. But that's really what Gil and I we're here today about. He's found out some things on the site assessment and other things that are changing kind of the fiscal picture. So that's all I had. Gil, anything for you?
No, that's, you know, as you and I discussed, Rock and DW, their actual, what the work that they're doing right now and everything, I think for me on my side is actually just getting a grasp of what the activities are right now. There seems to be a lot of activities over there right now, but I just really haven't grasped the whole scope of the project.
Well, I think we're going to have a more in-depth conversation on this as soon as we're finished with Tony. So if you want to hang tough for a little bit, I think we're going to circle back this and get an update from Mr. Amacio on it as well.
Great.
Okay?
I'll just hang tight.
There you go.
Okay. Tony, you're up.
All right, let me share my screen. This should be the one. There we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so this whole initiative started out kind of an overview. This is PPE for all of our internal departments here, kind of a last and final call before the end of the CARES grant. So this came up at our all department head reopening meeting. Everybody kind of discussed there was a need for it. So sent out an internal survey, bugged people a few times, and this is the result of what all departments said they needed. So today I'm just coming to you guys with one request for all county departments versus kind of piecemealing this through the next couple months. The part that was time sensitive on this is the fact that I wanted to bunch this together with the school PPE order that we're about to send out so that we can you know, get a lot better pricing all the way around. We can get better pricing for the schools if we add our quantity in, and we get much better pricing for our internal staff here. So our dollar will go a lot further if we can bunch both of these projects together. So
Okay.
the total dollar amount I have with a 10% buffer, just in case anything changes in the market or anybody comes to me in the next couple hours and says they need a little bit more than they said, it's $228,000 including tax, basically $229,000 including tax.
Okay, Jerry?
Tony, your great job, by the way. Did you get that? I'm going to assume that the sheriff office, you got that all bundled up in this?
Yeah, so I have another tab on here if you guys really want to go through some fun spreadsheet stuff, but it just kind of breaks down what all the departments are spending. Yeah, and to your point, Jerry, yeah, I got the 6,000 Tyvek suits.
All right,
that
thank
the
you.
sheriff's office
That's
was
what
wanting. Yep.
Okay. Thanks for being patient.
Okay. Any questions for Tony, Commissioner Kearns, or Cooney? Okay. So, Commissioner Kearns.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve and authorize up to $229,000 of CARES Act dollars for the expenditures presented by Tony Hall.
Second that?
Okay, got a motion and a second to authorize spending up to $229,000 as presented by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Let the record reflect the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony, for all the great work you're
Yep.
doing. Yep.
Yep. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Okay. So then that brings us back to 55 West Mission property. We're going to bring Mr. Maceo in and we'll have a conversation about the status of this project, and then the board can take an action to determine its future.
Ms. Perkins is here also.
Are you going to do the presentation, Ms. Perkins?
Well, I'm here for more information.
Well, feel free to join us. Jim's sitting there, so you might want to be over there next to Gail.
Tell him we're waiting for him, please.
Gonna be a minute.
Yeah, he'll be a minute. Jim's calling in, looking for him.
Oh.
Jim Brown. Hi there.
Hey, Jerry.
We want to
We
take
can
a
do
break.
this, or we can do miscellaneous encounters.
While we're waiting for Jim to join us, do either of my fellow commissioners have any miscellaneous items you want to bring up at this point? Got nothing. Mary?
Yeah, the only miscellaneous was, I was supposed to be on my civic leader trip. I was going to be leaving today, and that did get canceled at the last minute. The general wasn't comfortable with COVID, so we'll be doing some Zoom meetings this week, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. All right. No other miscellaneous items? Any topics of general conversation while we're waiting for Mr. Maceo? You want to take a 5-minute break while we're waiting for him?
Good idea, Sheriff.
So it is now 11:05. We're waiting for Mr. Maceo to join us. So why don't we just stand down for 5 minutes, give him a chance to get over here, and we'll reconvene at 11:10.